Hansel and Gretel. Once upon a time, there dwelt on the outskirts of a large forest a poor woodcutter with his wife and 2 children. The boy was called Hansel and the girl Gretel. They had always little enough to live on. And once, when there was a great famine in the land, the woodcutter could not even provide them with daily bread. One night, as he was tossing about in bed, full of cares and worry, he sighed and said to his wife, "What is to become of us? How are we to support our poor children now that we have nothing more left even for ourselves?" "Early tomorrow morning," answered the woman, who was the children's stepmother, "we will take Hansel and Gretel out into the thickest part of the woods. There we shall light a fire for them, give them each a piece of bread, and go on to work, leaving them alone. They will not be able to find their way home, and we shall thus be rid of them." "No, wife," said the husband, "that I won't do. How could I find it in my heart to leave my children alone in the woods? The wild beasts would come and tear them to pieces." "Oh," said she, "then we must all 4 die of hunger, and you may just as well go and prepare the boards for our coffins." And she left him no peace till he had consented. "But I feel very sorry for the poor children." "Just the same," said the husband. The children, too, had not been able to sleep for hunger, and they overheard their stepmother and father and what they had said. Gretel wept bitterly, but Hansel whispered, "Don't fret, little Gretel. I will find a way to save us." When the old people had fallen asleep, he got up and slipped on his coat, opened the back door, and stole out. The moon was shining brightly, and the white pebbles in front of the house glittered like bits of silver. Hansel bent down and filled his pockets with as many of the stones as he could. Then he went back and said to Gretel, "Be comforted, dear sister, and go to sleep. God will not desert us." And he lay down in the bed again. At daybreak, even before the sun was up, the woman came and woke the 2 children. "Get up, you lazy things. We are going to the forest this morning to gather wood." She gave them each a bit of bread and said, "There's something for your luncheon, but do not eat it before, for it is all you will get." Gretel put the bread in her apron pocket, as Hansel had the stones in his pocket. Then they set out together on the way to the forest. After they had walked for a while, Hansel stood still and looked back at the house, and this he did again and again. His father observed him and asked, "Hansel, what are you gazing at, and why do you always lag behind? Take care and do not lose your footing." "Oh, father," said Hansel, "I am looking back at my white kitten, which is sitting on the roof waving me farewell." The woman explained, "What a donkey you are! That isn't your kitten. That is the morning sun shining on the chimney." But Hansel had not been looking back at his kitten. He had been dropping the white pebbles out of his pocket onto the path. When they reached the middle of the forest, the father said, "Now, children, go and find some wood, and I will light a fire." Hansel and Gretel leaped up brushwood till they had made a pile nearly the size of a small hill. The brushwood was set alight, and when the flames leaped high, the woman said, "Now lie down by the fire, children, and rest yourselves. We are going into the forest to cut wood. When we have finished, we will come back and fetch you." As the children lay there, wondering what was to be, they fell asleep and woke up. In the morning, they went into the forest and found this house made of candy. The house was delicious, and the children started to feast on the house. A woman came out and caught them eating the home, and she invited them in. She said, "Oh, you poor children, you must be hungry. Please come in." So they did. They went inside and said, "I'm going to cook your brother Hansel." And as they began to stir the food, the daughter wondered whether or not she was going to be able to find her way out of there. Just at that moment, the door knocked. "Who could it be?" said the old woman. And the knock got louder. She opened the door, and guess who it was? It was their father. He had stood up to the angry stepmother and said, "I am not going to leave my children out there." This is very different to the story that you may have heard, because this time he had gumption, and he wasn't afraid of the stepmother, so he stood up to her. And he came back for his children. And once he realized that that lady was gonna eat them, he moved her out the way and grabbed his children. She tried to pop them on the head. She said, "I want them to eat. They're hungry, and I'm hungry, and I want to eat them." He wasn't going to let that happen. So he knocked her aside, and he took off with his kids. The end.